Folks, I hope that we are now streaming live. Maybe a couple people could check it on their phones, that'd be great. Can you hear it on there? You got, okay. All right, it is 6 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. Andy, would you mind doing the invocation?
Father in heaven, once again, Father, we're here at the courthouse with our budget hearings. Father, we ask you to give us the wisdom and understanding that we need to balance our budget, come forth with a good budget for the county. Father, please bless each person that's here and their families. We ask you also, Father, to bless our servicemen and women all over the world. Father, we love you. We thank you for your blessings and your love. This we pray through Christ's name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Andy?
Here.
Joey?
Here.
Lance?
Here.
Don? Tom?
Here.
Mark? Jim?
Here.
Derek?
Here.
Rita? Okay. All right. Then we'll continue our discussions of the development of the 2026 budget. Derek's continued to make changes in his shared document that we can all go on and see. I think a few more department heads have been sending in their budgets or updating what they previously sent. And I know that's still being worked on. Before we go any farther, I'd just like to open it up. Do any of the board members have anything they would like to say as far as changes or ideas about revenue or ideas about reducing the expenses? Anything at all with regard to the budget? Joey?
As I mentioned last year, the departments that are given raises out of stipends, I'd like their budgets to reflect that, those amounts. They just keep carrying over and building up. A lot of departments don't have that luxury, so.
You mean to show that separately in the budget?
Yeah, or deduct it from their total budget, whatever they've given for the last 3 years in stipend raises. Minus that from their overall budget. I think that's the only control we have of it, but we do have that, I think.
Okay. And Don's joining us. Okay. Any other comments? Sure.
Would you like for me to present our budget for the health department? Like, give you copies of that here, or am I supposed to just update it on Derek's spreadsheet?
I think Derek does the updates.
Yeah, if you email me your information, I'm just updating it in the spreadsheet. So whenever you have a chance to get it.
I brought copies tonight. Do you want me to just provide
You want,
that?
I mean, that would be fine. If you
Yeah.
want to go ahead and give me a copy and then present, I can enter it in while you're presenting and then.
I didn't know if I need to present or.
You don't have to, but if there's anything you'd like to say on behalf of the health department, be happy to give you a bit of time here. Do you have copies for all the board members?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This is just a quick overview of what we've got going on, and I would ask that you all highly consider giving us our cap. Of course, sure, everybody wants that, but that cap would put us at the 420,966. As you can see, our government grants have decreased significantly in the last couple of years. Our other has increased because we've been able to get a couple of those grants moved over to utilize them through the Adams County Health Department. Has helped us out with that. But as you'll see, we have reduced our overall budget significantly and managed our expenses accordingly. We're doing everything we can to manage those. We've looked at getting going through our contracts and getting things reduced, as well as looking at contracts that we have with others and getting those increased. So there's not a lot to say. It is what it is. So if you guys have any questions, and if you think of some, please let me know. You'll also see that the TB contract is also one of the part of the levy, and if we are able to maximize that amount, that will be the $31,572. So I respectfully request that you fund that as well. As Anita has informed me that the TB cases have been going up in the past few years, and everything costs more. So if we can utilize that to help cover those expenses, that would be greatly appreciated as well. I'll give you a copy of that too, Derek. I have one for all of you, but it's just really simple. It's one line. So, there you go. So, I'll give one to Rick, because he'll need it for the spreadsheet.
Thanks.
Kim, do you mind touching on I'm looking here at your budget going back all the way to like 2018, and I see where your salary uniform allowance was at like 1.2 million. Then in 2020 dropped to 1.1. In 2023 dropped down at 993, and then this year you're at 860. I guess I'm just pointing that out. I mean, and even if you look at other revenue, like in 2019, you're at 1.5 million. 2020, you dropped down to 1.1. 2022, you dropped down to 719. 631. I mean, so as your budget has been cut or as your revenue has continued to decrease, it looks like you've had to lay off people. And I mean, you don't have,
I don't know that we've necessarily laid off people through that time, but there have been significant changes, obviously, in the employment there based on different needs and with COVID made differences and things as well. And one of the issues that we also have is that, especially for the nurses, we can't pay them the amount of money that they can get going to most other places. So that affects our ability to hire people and keep people. So,
well, I was just trying to figure out if those were all part salary and uniform allowances. I mean, I assumed that it was mostly personnel, so.
yeah, we don't have any uniform allowances. That needs to be,
So that,
like on ours, I've changed that to just salaries. That's all salary that comes out of there.
so that's basically a direct reflection of you're not paying as much in salaries as you were, whether it's a lower amount of employees that you have or whether people have taken cuts or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
And we
it's
do have people who have taken furloughs throughout many different times.
Okay.
When things get tight, so everybody takes a little bit of a hit across the board so that we don't have to let go of people.
all right.
So,
Okay, I just want to make sure I was seeing the numbers correctly. Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
What's your professional contracts?
So the professional contracts are anything that we have to pay. I'll just give you some examples if I can get it here for you, Joey. So it's contractual services essentially of anything that we contract out to other people. Of course, I can find it. Sorry, it's taking me a minute. I have them all here. Okay. So, like right now, we pay out to Adams County Health Department for their services that they're helping us to continue to provide to the county that we wouldn't be able to because of the lack of our grants. We have software for home health. We have anything from any nurses that we have that come in and do contractual work for us just on a per diem type of thing. We have a physical therapist, our software for accounting, our medical director, our cleaning. We have an accounting firm that helps to do our Medicare cost reporting. We pay a portion of the Tiger Hawk bills, and we pay let's see here. We have a consultant fee that comes in to help train for the annual septic training and lawn care. I think that's about basically everything on there. Shred it, all of those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay.
How many people work there?
We have 15 people,
Okay.
2 part-time.
In addition to the 15 or including?
We have 15 total, 13
Total.
full-time, 2 part-time. And then we have a couple of contractual people that help us with physical therapy and such, family planning. Anybody else?
Can you touch on what services you're not available or you can't no longer? I remember reading something in the summer where you weren't going to be able to provide some services, but I don't know if that got corrected, or are there things that the health department's now not being able to do because of the funding issue?
Anita? I'm gonna let her address that.
Okay.
Because that's more her.
Thank you. So basically, the only grant we have, I wrote some stuff down today just because I didn't want to lose track of a few. Getting some feedback.
They're too close together.
2 years ago, we started working with IDPH and DHS because of the stop pay. We were not able to apply for grants. And so IDPH, we worked with them on the mandated services of food, water, sewage, and infectious disease, because if we don't provide them, the county is still responsible for those. And my question was, well, then who is going to do that? The county would have to contract with someone else. They did a waiver for us, and so we still get that grant, and we still get the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Grant, because they see those as services that we need to continue no matter what. Under IDPH 2, last year there was a
County would
regional
have to
tobacco
contract with
grant
someone
that
else.
Adams County covered Pike County, and they provide those services. And that's with enforcement for restaurants and businesses and that type of thing. Under the IDPH grant, we also still do like the tick and the tanning and lead and the food, water, food inspections at the restaurants. We still remain one county that doesn't have any food fees, and I think we're one of 3 counties in the state of Illinois. We've tried to get food fees for a couple years, which we've talked about looking at that option again, but you know, we need your input on that down the road. The DHS grants, they would not provide a waiver for us. So we basically were going to lose WIC, family case management, which is for women or high risk infants and children. And then a peer counselor program, which was breastfeeding support position. We were talking to Adams County at the same time because we've had to contract with them to help us with our communicable disease and immunization programs. We've lost staff. We can't afford to pay staff out in the real world what nurses are being paid. And frankly, people are not real excited about public health anymore since the COVID, all of the extreme issues that happened with COVID. So we've gone backwards in public health, unfortunately. So we worked with DHS and Adams County and our health department and our Board of Health, and it came to an agreement that we would fall under Adams County Health Department in those areas. They would get the money that was allotted for Pike County, Illinois. They are also working with Schuyler County for sure, and possibly a couple others. I can't remember. They have different functions. They are becoming more of a regional hub for public health services, and I really believe the state is looking at that as a more cost-effective way of providing services, and they have been very, very good partners for us. So then those grants, if we would have, what we received last year for those was $150,700. We also could not apply for our family planning grant, which was a $50,000 grant. So we actually closed that program and at the end of June. But Adams County did receive that grant for several counties, and we are able to see some of our clients that were active on the program. And they're getting ready to roll that program out fully. They took over the family planning services in Adams County, which was at a separate facility. Let's see, there was last year a tobacco grant that I talked about earlier, we weren't able to get. IEMA provides $6,000 a year for radon education and various things, and we've not been able to receive that money. HealthWorks is a DCFS case management. We call it a medical case management. And we were still getting that contract because it was through a third party vendor, but we lost another nurse. She went to work at a hospital, and we really haven't hired anybody because it's really hard to advertise and when we're in such an unstable situation. We're just trying to hold tight with what we have and not lose anything else. Altogether, it's a little over $265,000 in the last couple of years that we've had to pass on to another county. and we work with them.
In grants.
Yes,
That was not going to be my
yes.
next question.
It's all
It's
grants.
significant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we are so lucky that we have them to work with us, and we can continue to provide those services.
What would you say the service level is now versus before?
Basically the same, except for family planning. We're not seeing very many people at all right now until Adams rolls the full program out.
But we've had to reduce our hours and being available for
Yes.
immunizations and stuff, so that has affected.
Yeah, and that's on Adams, and Adams County does the whole immunization program. We had to give that up because we did not have staff to do that. And so they buy the vaccine, they do the clinics, they do the billing for all of that. So they said that it has not grown like they had hoped it would, but they are trying to provide education. They do other things for us, like our Facebook page. They update our Facebook page and keep health education out to the public because we find that's the best place to share information. They also are considered the PIO. So in situations such as when we were working with COVID, it was really hard. You know, every week we were trying to get articles in the paper and trying to speak to, you know, the television stations or radio stations. And so they now have that ability to help us get messages out to the community. And we're really fortunate of that too. So I don't know if I left anything out.
And part of the contractual services, we do pay them for those services, so it's not as expensive as hiring additional employees,
That
but.
usually is the case if you can get a good job done.
Right, and I
Yes.
think they do a great job, we just don't have the same availability.
Yes,
is
we
what I
pay
meant.
them for the CD services, not the
Right.
immunizations. They actually, for immunizations, pay rent. And because they have one room that is for their equipment, our staff can support them, like with helping hold a child, or actually, if they get behind, we've been able to support them at times. Although we have very limited staff to do that either. There's days that they might say we need help with something, but we don't have. I have 2 home health nurses and 2 public health nurses. And then I'm an RN, but I really don't do any direct services anymore.
Did you have a question, ma'am?
Hi, my name is Deborah Ashman. I actually have a question now that it's brought up about the health department regarding the budget and employees being paid. Our health department, I spoke with Lynette or Carol Johns.
Yes.
Yes, she's not a licensed LEHP inspector,
Correct.
and she told me that she's the only staff that now does all the inspections for restaurants, sewer, septic, radon, all those things. That there were others where that she's the remaining one due to budget constraints. And but her supervisor is Mitchell Housework.
yes.
And I spoke with him as well. The issue I'm having is that we're paying these salaries and the health department is a little bit off key. That she's not licensed, she's not signing these health inspections, she's failing health inspections like when she's in county market, but not doing the re-inspections. June, if you look at the website, you'll see the health reports. And I'm just wondering, I spoke to Mitchell House, right, and I'm just wondering where these contracts lie and how much we're getting and how much is getting paid, because the services that we need in this county aren't being fulfilled.
Well, I was not aware that she's not doing the rechecks. I know sometimes she does have to go back. We generally have really great food service in Pike County, and she has good relationships with those people. But I would have to check with her on that because I don't know. I did not realize that she was not current. Mitch is her supervisor. He is the LEHP that we contract with for Adams County. We could not find one. Jane Johnson was our LEHP in 2020. She retired. took Peyton Dean, she was working
Right,
for
right,
us.
I've done this, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I appreciate all that, the issue I'm having also is that I called to file and lodge a complaint about those re-inspections not being done, especially in consideration for County Market, Nucci's County Market being the only grocery store in Pittsburgh, and Nucci's one of the most popular restaurants, that, you know, work for attends very frequently. And so my issue was go do the re-inspection because Nucci's is now operating as Nucci's Italian Steakhouse, so not licensed in Illinois as a registered business under that name, which deems not only their liquor license and their business licenses are all, you know, void, but so they have inspection as well. So even if she did do the inspection, which I checked again today, and I spoke with Mitchell last week about the inspection, and it's still, it was because of a corrupt file that still hasn't been remedied, and that's what we need now. So these are the concerns that I have, and I'm sure other county members are very interested to know, and I just wanted to raise it since you, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I will tell you, we are in the process of updating for his name change.
Perfect.
So we've talked to the state about that, and I'll talk to Mitch about that if you give your information.
That would be great, because if somebody gets injured, or there's a business there, or somebody falls, you know,
Oh,
there's
okay.
no way to be accountable for that.
Yes, but she was in the process of getting his name updated.
Right, well, they both, Mitchell and Lynn Carroll, however she goes, both denied to re-inspect, just so you know, on record. They
Okay, I do understand that. We don't have to do a re-inspection on that, is what they were told.
Well, they failed the last inspection, so I would think the re-inspection would be necessary in June 20th to be exact.
And it was failed. I'll check on that for
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Can you let us know what you find? I'd
Yes.
appreciate, thanks.
Yes. I
And-
don't know how you want to be informed. I know I recently told the state's attorney of a facility we may ask to close if they don't provide what they need. So if you want to get that information too, I can share that with you.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you. I will have public comment period later, but it looked like your question was, it made more sense, and I appreciate you for
Yes.
addressing. Thanks for
Yeah,
doing
I
it.
will check on it and I'll share it with you because I wasn't aware of that.
So you guys have any other questions in regards to the budget that I can address? Thank you so much for your time, and we respectfully request that we are given those funds, please, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for making the presentation and bringing this in. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And thanks for the chair, Jim. I'm gonna leave it here.
Yeah, just please do. One thing I just wanted to mention, because I brought it up earlier, the idea that we might be able to access interest from some of the CDs and checking accounts we have. Chris Johnson, I think it was, found a AG's opinion back from when Roland Burris was AG. I think it dates back to 1991. And it looks to me, in reading it, that it's one of those documents that you, at least for me, I try and read and then walk away from it and go back and read it again later. But it looks to me like we cannot access those funds. If anyone hasn't seen that and would like to, I'd be happy to forward it to anybody, but it looks like that option may not be available to us as another revenue source. So good and bad news there. I'm sure some of the departments see that as good news, but as far as the overall budget, bad news for that. Are there any other department heads here that want to present or discuss? Casey? Thank you. Casey, is this the same you used at the Public Safety Committee?
Yeah, so last Wednesday night at Public Safety, I presented this budget to the Public Safety. Essentially, it is the same budget, except for when I turned it into Derek, he found that I maybe had some formulas messed up in my AutoSum on Excel, so I corrected those, which didn't make really a real large difference, but your end numbers are going to be a little bit different. I mean, it's straightforward. All of this, all expenditures comes out of the ambulance referendum fund. None of this comes out of the budget or the general fund. The ambulance is standalone. We generate our own revenue, of course, from billing, which would be your ambulance fees is what the revenue that we generate from billing private insurance in both Medicare and Medicaid. Of course, interest is revenue that we get off of our CDs and checking. Sales tax for operation is for the public safety sales tax. And refund, Derek and I spoke back and forth about this specific line item. I interpreted that it is actually minus from the revenue. That this is refunds where insurance or Medicare is overpaid and we have to refund either the individual or the insurance company back. So I take that as a minus in revenue instead of adding. Derek thought that it might actually be other revenue generated from other sources that we have. So as you see, total revenue estimated there. The budget's pretty straightforward in comparisons to last fiscal year. I'll just point out a couple big changes. So under capital outlay, I have estimated $365,000 expenditure, and that's going to be for the purchase of a brand new frontline ambulance. So that's going to be a major expenditure for the next fiscal year. Everything else is pretty much fixed as far as fuel, salaries, supplies, radio maintenance, uniforms. Uniforms did increase for the fact that today's society we live in. I found in most ambulance services in our area has even gone to this, but ballistic and stab-proof vest for the calls that we go on, or psychiatric calls, or higher acuity calls where we go and assist with law enforcement. So that did bump up my line item for uniforms a little bit in comparison to last year. And then again with the ballistic vest, as Sheriff stated during his budget presentation, those do have to be replaced about every 5 years. But the rest of the line items comparing from year to year, not a whole lot different. I just figured, the normal increase as far as medical supplies usually go up 7% annually. Of course, I figured in a percentage increase for raises as far as myself, our office manager, and for the employees as well. So, but if anybody has any questions over any of the line items, I'd be happy to answer those.
Let's just look at the education officer, that's new.
Oh, yep, sorry, yep. So education officer is a new line item that I feel that we need. So education officer is going to be able to do our daily policy reviews and skills practice. They're also going to be handling all quarterly skills checkoffs, our EMT classes, our first responder classes. They'll be doing education for the volunteers, the first responders, so they can maintain their license. And we'll be able to bring that training to the first responders so they're not having to travel outside of the area to get that education. They'll also be handling all of our required classes, such as OSHA required classes, any classes that's required from the state. They'll be maintaining all records on this. And most recently, IDPH and Quincy Area EMS System has required now that we perform quality assurance on all of our, on most of our calls, such as higher acuity, such as trauma calls, cardiac arrest, pediatric calls. And that's where they're reviewing each patient care report and, you know, making sure that our clinical providers are providing the care that needs to be delivered to the patients. That was supposed to go in effect of June of this year, and alone with all my other administrative duties, I found that it's very difficult for me to maintain quality assurance, education, with all the other administrative duties I had. Other departments, looking at Adams County, they, of course, are larger than us, but they have two salary positions. One is education officer, the other individual does just quality assurance. I feel with our size that I can combine those two salary positions into one position, and they would be able to do both all of our education and taking care of all of our quality assurance, just in that position. I can also, of course, there's other delegations I can do, such as infection control officer. I can add that onto that person's plate, or public information officer. So there's several tasks. I'm in the process of building the job description for that, but this will be a salaried administrative position. It won't be an hourly or a union position. So it'll be just strictly administrative.
So they won't be going on calls or anything?
They won't be going on calls or nothing like that, no.
And Lance, just to let you know, it's also going to be brought up at the full board meeting for approval.
Okay. It just jumped out, so.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Me and Andy were, was there at the meeting, so we just want to go ahead and put it toward the full board for approval. It's a very good idea, and it takes a lot off of Casey's plate that has been lacking, I think, in a few spots here and there, so. But like I said, now we discussed it Monday night.
And like I said, it allows me to take care of more of the administrative duties versus juggling everything else.
Casey, do you anticipate that job creating revenue? Because you're talking about training and you kind of
Right.
talked about going up. I mean, will there be people
Sure.
paying for that training to where there might be a revenue line in here to help offset it?
Another educational service that we offer to the county is, for instance, CPR to daycares, CPR to other employers such as MASH offs and some of your bigger companies that require the employees to have CPR or basic first aid. Those employees, that's a service that have been providing the past 5 years to them, and of course we do charge for that class. So there will be some revenue from that employee teaching those type of classes, and then also other EMTs or paramedics that are, you know, looking for a certification type class. If they find we have it here in Pike County, for a fee, they could travel to Pike County and take that class here in Pike. So there would be some revenue generated from it.
Okay, that I think is that $4,500 other revenue I was talking about. That there's actually in there where you're getting paid $25 or whatever, and that's what I think that number
That
is.
could be.
So I didn't realize you were getting paid, but now that you've said it, now that kind of makes sense that if you have been charging, that probably is that other revenue line. But
Yep.
anyway.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, I figured 3%. Of course, union negotiations are coming up, so we don't know where that's going to go. I just figured 3% for now, but once negotiations is finalized, I'll probably have to amend that line item. Yeah. Anything else? Thank you. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to let me know.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else anyone wants to bring up among board members? Scott?
I've already presented both of mine already, but I do want to give you one more sheet. And this is what my budget was back in 2014 when I took office. I don't know whether you have any questions on my budget that I proposed, but the budget that I proposed to you was only $19,000, $420 higher than it was the year that I took office 11 years ago. That's $1,618.34 a year. So when we're making budget cuts, I want you to look at that and pay attention, because I'm bare bones minimum. The only thing I changed on my treasurer's fund is I moved $1,000 from my publication over to my postage line, because postages went up twice. And I only have one newspaper to publish in anymore, so that was the only change that I made in it. And I did add in the treasurer's automation fund a $5,000 capital outlay, because I'm going to get a different printer, something with a larger memory. We were losing tax bills that drop 100 of them out in the middle of it, so we're going to look at getting a new copier, and I'm paying for it out of my own fund. Is there any questions on any of them? Or?
Not much there to work with.
Nope, there isn't. I'm bare bones minimum. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Scott.
Hey, Scott, before you walk away, one thing I would like to just clarify again tonight. Last week when we met, and I think Mark kind of led part of this discussion, is I think we came to general consensus that there appeared to be about 1.1 deficit in the budget this year. And then there's the question of the 500,000 we're borrowing from the tort fund and whether that needs to be paid back. And then since that meeting, the Finance Committee reviewed the letter of engagement from Louderback for the next 3 audits, 24, 25, and 26. And that comes up to about $340,000. Now, 26, we should be able to arrange so that that doesn't hit us next year, as far as having to pay for that audit. But it's still another $200,000+. I would think at least probably 220 or so. So that brings us up to about a 1.3 deficit, and then the 500 we're borrowing. So I know there were some emails exchanged with the county clerk, and Derek kind of went back and forth on some numbers over this past, late last week and this past weekend. I forwarded the string to all of you. You may not have had a chance to look at it because it was just before I left home this afternoon. But if anyone is thinking those numbers are off, or you have something that you can share, I mean, some unknown revenue that we would certainly welcome, or you think the expense numbers aren't exactly right. Scott, we're still, last time I talked to you, we were pretty close to borrowing the full 500,000?
We're at 435 right now. We got enough in there now, probably to get us through this month. We'll get our landfill check. I've already got the notification. We'll get 80-some thousand out of it. So that'll take us into next month, and we'll see where we're at as far, I mean, I never know what the health insurance is going to be. I never know what payroll, or we're doing pretty good on our income tax and our sales tax. Some of the others are pretty well right on target as well, but it's just the other revenues that we're not getting. I don't know how far we'll get in our audits next year. I know you get through 23 and possibly 24, so some of them may not even come up in this next year. I don't know whether they'll get into 25 or not. They might start it, but.
Yeah. So does anyone have any different feelings, or are we still pretty well set on those numbers. I think it's important to be able to tell people tomorrow night at the Truth in Taxation hearing why we put that in the paper at the amount we did. Okay,
I'm not sure whether it'd be this point to make a recommendation, but I know that Mr. Shepherd said to pay 10% back each month after the end of the year, but I would probably recommend that you go ahead and use our anticipation note and just pay it totally off at the beginning. And then hopefully you can get through 2 of the audits to where you'd be freed up for grant money but I don't know. Either way, he's,
Used up a lot of that anticipation note quick.
Yeah, I
without
know.
Paying that much, about $500,000 missing from it.
Yep.
So.
that would use up about half of it, but that also keeps you out of, you're not supposed to borrow unless you repay it before the end of the fiscal year, but
Yeah.
But I
So, I
hate
mean-
paying interest when I'm just gonna get my hand slapped.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just a thought.
Walker, unfortunately, he is away at a conference or something, but, and Derek will not be happy that I mention this, but Walker is questioning whether we need to pay it back. There sure seems like a lot of legal action in the past with various entities that says we do need to pay it back.
I think without a direct threat of a lawsuit or a letter from a vendor saying that if you don't pay me, we will sue you, I think we have to pay it back.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you, and this was not an official opinion from Walker. We were just talking in a meeting, but I think I'm not sure what his final thoughts will be on it, but.
And as far as looking into the interest part of it, that's probably something he needs to look into each one of the funds themselves, how the statute's set up, whether or not we can legally take it, the interest. So that's probably a legal issue that probably need to be looked in by him, but.
That may be the case, although I'm so sorry. This AG's opinion that Chris found sure looks like it's a general across-the-board decision that it can't be taken.
That's kind of the way I read it too, but,
But yeah, I mean, we need to look at everything, obviously,
yeah.
everything we can.
Nothing else?
Thanks, Scott. Okay. I would, if Derek would help out here, maybe with highlighting a couple, I would like to look at the sheriff's department and the animal control and talk more specifically about possible reductions there. I think, Derek, you did get some new information from the sheriff, but I don't know that it's been in time to change anything in the,
Yeah, so the sheriff got me his budget, and then the adjusted information that he sent was basically explaining the revenue that his office or department generates and kind of a net of what the sheriff's office is costing. So as an example, I think his budget's at like 2.6 million, but then he gets around $900,000 in revenue either through direct reimbursement from the state for part of his salary or possible reimbursement for other services or his fees or whatever else. So his net, if you take the 2.6 minus his revenue generated, ends up being, well, his department only costs around 1.7 million. What I tried to explain to him was that that revenue that he's showing is already figured on page 2 of the budget. So a lot of the things that he was using as, well, this goes against my expense, this goes against my expense, I don't disagree with, but we've already accounted for that revenue in the 5.2 million that we're looking at for total revenues. So it wasn't that he was adding an additional $900,000 of revenue, otherwise we could go home. It just, I don't see that there was any additional revenues added, and it doesn't appear that he really offered to make any cuts in anything. It was more of a comparison of gross, take the expense or take the revenue away. And then recently he just emailed here later in the afternoon what those line items were specifically, and then some rationale or explanation of each line. So I have everything entered in there, but respectfully, I'll say that it doesn't really change our numbers. But I may be misinterpreting it, and I'm open to anybody correcting me.
The only comment I would have was on the judicial security. I noticed that you had a question on the budget document about whether that 43,000 went to the general fund or not.
Okay.
And I didn't know if that, I know it's not accounted for in sheriff's fees. It's been accounted in the past as either a salary reimbursement or this last year as a transfer in.
Okay.
And I mean, that one, I don't, and I'm assuming, I think that Tom and I have kind of discussed the amount he's got in there for a reimbursement from the ambulance department. And the current deal that we have with the sheriff's department is that is a starting dispatcher salary, not an average dispatcher salary.
It jumps from 31 to 46, and like we've always done 31 because it was a starting salary. I don't know where he's come up with the 46, or why he has not come to and ask for an increase. Because if the 46 is what he's doing, Casey's numbers are off by $15,000. I mean, I don't have a problem, to talk to him and try to see where we can negotiate price on the dispatcher, but that also falls back that the city of Pittsfield pays for dispatchers, for a dispatcher. ETSB pays for 2. And Jim, that wasn't brought up at the last ETSB meeting, correct?
No, Dave wasn't
I
there either.
wasn't
Dave
there.
wasn't there either, so no.
So that's gonna throw numbers off on ETSB if that increases with them and the ambulance. So I have no problem talking to Dave and seeing what we can do. But him just putting a number in there and expecting us to pay it, that's kind of hard to swallow.
And I believe regardless of whether it's 31 or 46, that number I think is also figured in as a transfer in and not part of the 500,000 sheriff's fees. Now, I don't know where some of the city contracts were always sheriff fees, but I don't know where, say, the school resource officers are coming in at.
I think I can speak to the resource officers. It's 19,000 some number times 3, so it ended up being 57,000. He was short this year in the 2025 fiscal year because he said that Western got a notice in October of last year saying, here's what it's going to be, and I think they interpreted it as a invoice, so they went ahead and paid it. So it was 2025's resource officer income for 25 was actually paid in 24. And then he also said that there's another $19,000 that he's expecting from another school district that still should be coming in for this year.
Yes, you mentioned that 3 months ago, Griggs was still going. My question was, is that the sheriff's fees, or is that?
There's actually a line item for resource officer that I don't believe is in fees. And I'm actually trying to kind of add these revenues, and I said that at the last meeting, I'm trying to add revenues into the budgets, the actual department budget, so you can see what we're looking at as revenue from those departments, and then put that right next to their expenses. So it kind of gives us more of a net idea of what departments are costing. For example, probation, pretty much 100% of probation's reimbursed. Even though their total budget, I mean, their expenses might be 260 some odd thousand, but about 230 of that's reimbursed from the state. So I'm trying to,
They can take all their supplies, everything else for their office out of probation services fund.
right. So I'm trying to do, so right now I actually added a revenue line item in there called Sheriff RO Deputy Salary Reimbursement, which is a tagline in CIC. In the general fund, that's 001, 7,000. And so I'm going to be adding those type of things in, so it's a little easier to see. But I think it's separate. I don't believe it was figured into his fees and stuff.
Okay, and that was my question. And then, when you brought probation, I noticed your probation number in their budget is at 236, but on your appropriations ordinance, it's still 216.
That may be, I can,
It's mine, it's very minor. but-
yeah, I can change those around to match, but, right, the 216 I have in as revenue. I took the estimated times 1.05, but I didn't adjust what Evan put in,
Evan
so,
probably hadn't given you the actual number until
yeah,
she presented.
236. I'll fix that right now.
And I appreciated Evan's note. If I read it correctly, I think she was looking to see if some of the balance she had could be used to fund the clerical costs that can't be reimbursed.
Yeah, I may have read where she thought the interest over the last few years would cover the secretary's salary.
That's the way I took it, so,
An email she sent yesterday or something like that.
yeah.
It may be my fault for not.
That'd be great if that's the case.
And they keep her out of trouble with the OIC.
Their budget, I don't know, but it's busier.
Lance, did you have something else? Okay.
I understand, but we can set the budget, and then there's problems, we'll discuss it later.
Anything else on the sheriff's budget, or,
I got a question, but are you pulling out the, like the city contracts too, like you did the school resource officer?
I will be adding those in, yeah.
Okay. Like I said, that was just another one that would be nice if you knew exactly what,
Yeah.
where it's coming from and where it's.
Yeah, well, until he sent that detail sheet today, it was all lumped together. So now that I can see how it's broken out, I'll break that out in our revenue so we can all be looking at it and seeing, okay, that's what comes from resource officer, that's what comes from contracts from the city. So instead of it just being a lump sum, that's what I was going to do. But he just got that to me today and I didn't have a chance to build it all in yet.
I just want to make sure that that's what you.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Sounds good.
What's needed, but
anything else there? Before I move on to the animal control, let me say, one of the reasons I'm asking is, and we might as well do this now, before we adjourn, I wanted to talk about the time frame for publicizing the tentative budget for public comment. And Walker has said it needs to be publicized by November 7th, if I remember him correctly. Does everyone concur with that? November 7th?
Yeah.
I can't remember if that was, it was the first part of November.
Yeah, yeah.
November, it's that Friday, the first week of November, I remember that. So, and that should be the 7th.
So that doesn't give us much time. We don't have another one of these meetings scheduled. We do have our regular board meeting next Monday. So I guess what I'm asking is some input on how to proceed. We've talked a lot about what our issues are. I think we've identified where we stand, but obviously none of us have proposed anything that makes up the shortfall altogether. And of course, some things that, some ideas we each have, others feel strongly against. Obviously, Derek feels very strongly about that tort fund. It sounds like others agree with that. Tom feels very strongly about the sales tax and not taking anything from the ambulance. I feel very strongly that I don't want to raise taxes to the maximum and increase our revenue through the property taxes. But even if we all agreed on all of those things, it doesn't resolve the full problem. So besides time, getting this done and getting it done in a timely way, we can try to do something in the meantime to just make some cuts and come in at the regular meeting on Monday and try to propose something, see where the board feels. We could discuss it again on Monday night and then maybe schedule another meeting that week, later in that week. One thought we had was that would give us a little more time is, do we have to use one of the weekly papers? Could we publish it in, say, Jacksonville or Quincy? And that would buy us a little more, a couple more days, but
What are you talking about publishing?
don't we have to publish some sort of notice that the budget is available for review?
I don't know, I mean, you have to put, I don't know if it has to be published, I know it has to be put on the doors of all of the buildings where it's available, but I don't know if you have to publish. Now, I've not looked it up, but I know that I've read where you have to put it on the door to the buildings that it's available in the clerk's office, that sort of thing. And I know it's also on the bulletin board outside the clerk's office.
Madam Chair, if I may. I think when we were talking about it, it had to do with, and what was brought up at a finance meeting, that to hold a special meeting, it needs to hit the paper it has to be in the paper 3 days before the meeting. And so if there was a need or to call for a special meeting, we're kind of limited to, if we only can post it in this paper, you have to hope you get it in that right time period. Otherwise, you've got to wait a whole another 6 days in order to post it again. So if you're trying to hold a special meeting because of urgency or needing to sit down, if we're posting in the local paper, we're limited to how often or how quickly you can hold a meeting because of the 3-day requirement. So I'll just admit, I was the one that asked the question, could a Jacksonville paper that is a daily paper be considered a local paper if we needed to hold a meeting on a Thursday or something and not have to have hopefully hit it by that Tuesday and have to wait for the following Tuesday? So.
And I think it's a good question to ask in general for the future with our meetings. But for specifically the budget, in the past, like for example, it's just, there on Natalie's board or various spots around the county buildings, are people able to just send in comments, or I don't remember us having a specific meeting to get public comment on the budget. A separate meeting. Did you do that in the
No,
past?
No, the budget hearings qualified as a hearing. Because
These.
we always title them as budget hearings, so if the public wanted to make comment, they could come and make comment.
Okay. Well, then that's helpful. That gives us through November 7th, where we could have at least a couple of more meetings, I guess, if the board would like to do that, and we can continue whittling away.
I don't think whittling's going to do it. We need a hatchet.
No. Yeah.
So are you looking at having one next week and then one the following week? Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking.
My Tuesdays are Fire Protection Board meetings on the fourth Tuesday of the month.
Okay. It would be I don't know if folks would be available, but it might be helpful, since we'll have the Monday night meeting, the regular meeting, to wait until possibly the 29th or 30th to give some time in between to work on it, or to follow up on any issues, if folks would be available then. And then Andy, would you be available on the 4th, the first Tuesday?
As far as I know, yes.
So you're looking at Thursday, the 30th, and November 4th?
Those would work for me if they work for all of you. I would be open other dates as well if something else is better for you.
I have a commitment on the 30th, but the following week's wide open.
What about the 29th?
Fine with me.
I will say, I don't know if any of you are involved in this, but I understand some local folks have arranged some events for the WIU president. He's going to be in town that day, and they're having a reception that evening with WIU alumni, and I think Phil Bradshaw and Kay Ifner are some of the folks organizing that. They're going to be at Rotary that day. But if that doesn't conflict with folks, the 29th would work for me.
What's your guys' thoughts, Lance? I'm good with the 29th. Joey?
I think so.
You good with 29th?
I'd like for Jim to be there if he can.
29th,
I'll be, yeah, 29th's great.
29th's good.
Okay, October
Jared, I
20.
guess you're good that night?
Oh, Derek's here.
Well, I respectfully, I don't know what the difference is going to be next week or the week after. I mean, we kind of all just seem to be sitting here with a huge elephant in the room that we're not addressing. So I again am wondering, is there going to be another $1 million of revenue that's going to be discovered between now and next week? I don't feel like we're really making any progress here. And there's truly something that needs to be addressed. And I'll point this out. As we ask our department heads to put these budgets together, and we're going to have to make some adjustments to them, we're also going to be holding their feet to the fire to say, you're going to tell us what your revenues are, or you're going to tell us what your expenses are, and we're going to hold we're going to hold you accountable. I look at the board here, and I look at our general revenue that's come in, and we look at these administrative expenses. There's no department heads there. It's the board. The board is the one that's looking at the overall revenue that's supposed to pay those administrative costs, and we need to be accountable to make sure that we have the revenue to cover our expenses. And for the budget that was passed last year, it doesn't look like we had that revenue, so therefore I don't know why it's any different this year than it was last year. And why do we just continue to kick this can down the road? There are some deep cuts that need to be made, or somebody needs to show me where we're going to have another $1 million, and nobody's bringing that up. So yeah, I'll be here on the 29th. I'll be here the 30th, the 31st. When are we going to start talking about the real issue here is we don't have enough money to pay for the expenses that we have in this budget, and it needs to be fixed. So, Madam Chair wants to talk about the animal shelter. I love animals. I'm not trying to close that down or anything, but there's definitely some numbers that could be talked to there. The Sheriff's Department again, but I don't know enough about the Sheriff's Department and what to even cut. Deputies, I don't know. I'm looking for other people's advice at the board. Are other expenses in the county? I'm deeply concerned that it really is the board's responsibility to be balancing some of this stuff because there are no department heads over it. And then I think it's very hypocritical that we're going to sit there and hold department heads accountable, but we can't even hold ourselves. So this is my frustration is, yes, I will be here at whatever meeting you need me at, but I would like to find out when we're going to start talking about where do we make the cuts in order to make up this deficit. And I haven't heard anything yet. So
let me give you some cuts for the animal control. On the utilities line item, go from 3,500 to 2,000. On the veterinary services line item, go from 60,000 to 45,000. On the part-time help line item, go from 150,400 down to 120,400. That'd be a total cut of $46,500, if my math is correct, and I'm not sure it is. That'd be close. And if my math is correct, that would make their total expenditures at $219,881.
Okay. I went ahead and put the 219,881 based off of what you just said, but I apologize. I wasn't able to type as fast as you were speaking. So if she could send me over the budget, I'll enter it in. But so if we look at that 219,881, that now brings our, that helps. So now our deficit is 1.228, plus trying to make our $500,000 payment, so we're at 1.7. So we were at 1.8, so that helped a little bit. As far as property taxes, and I know I've gotten emails, I've gotten phone calls, I'm sure other board members have too. We've capped that out at the 0.37. We cannot collect any more taxes from the taxpayers to help with our general revenue issue. The increase in our general fund, or that taking us up to the 0.37, I believe was going to increase or give us an extra $265,000 to use. But then if we're seriously talking about, well, we're going to give out raises too, and we're going to go ahead and continue, or we're going to pay our part of the increase of the health insurance, then we're going backwards again. I mean, those just to me are not realistic statements. I understand employees want raises. I understand employees want to sit there and have their health insurance paid at the level that they were, but I just do not understand this math on how that's feasible. And I would like for somebody else to explain it to me. And again, I'm saying these are not any different than what was there last year in the budget issue. It appears that the numbers that were there last year was the same deficit. So I wasn't party at those meetings. I've been scolded for not showing up, and I've explained my reasons for why. But irregardless, I don't see that there's any difference from last year's budget. You guys should have had the same exact problem last year as you did this, or as we do this year. So they weren't addressed last year. Now it's sitting in our lap again, and it doesn't sound like it's being addressed again. So crickets. Okay. Yes, ma'am. I will be here on the 29th.
Let me just finish that one out. If we could, please, and I realize how much you all are giving of your time for this, but if we could plan on meetings, October 29th, that's a Wednesday, and November 4th, a Tuesday, both at 6 o'clock, I would appreciate that. If it turns out we don't need something, we can always cancel. With the meeting scheduled, though, I would say I share Derek's concerns, and I think we all share them to some extent. And it is my intent that we walk away from here with a balanced budget. Right now, it looks like an impossible feat to get to that from where we stand tonight, but I think we have to. I think that's our job. And, you know, sometimes somebody will suggest something and it's a very small amount, but those small amounts add up. And I think we have to focus on those as well as the bigger issues and the big ticket items that none of us may want to do. But in the end, we're going to have to look at some very large reductions. And Andy, I thank you for working with animal control to come up with these. That is a help and a good place to begin. Another thing that I would like to bring up, and did anyone else have anything on animal control before I move on a bit? The other thing I wanted to bring up is, as you all know from sitting here in previous meetings, employees are concerned about the amount of withholding for their health insurance premiums. And one thing that I think we need to look at, looking at the FOP contract and all of that, is to give them the 30-day notice that we are going over the 10% and look at possibly setting the premiums with an increase of maybe 15 to 20%. And obviously, we're not voting on anything tonight. We didn't, set that sort of a meeting up. But next Monday,
Would be 2,000.
if we could come out of here with a consensus tonight, that's wonderful. But at least by next Monday, I'd like to be able to decide on something there so that we can let the employees know. They've been asking to know by the end of the month so that in the event it impacts which options they choose for their health insurance. So is there any discussion on that? And again, Tom?
So are you gonna notify the FOP?
That's what I was talking about with the 30-day notice.
So, have you set a date that you're gonna call them and tell them that that's part of it?
We've already discussed that with our attorney.
Discussing it with our attorney is fine.
Yeah.
But contacting their attorney and their contract is what I'm asking.
And we absolutely need to do that, but I would like to have a consensus or I don't think it should just be my decision. We need to come to a decision as the board as to what we want to do there.
Not to interrupt you, but has the insurance committee come up with a number. I mean, I know we're throwing 15-20% around, but shouldn't that be a recommendation from that committee? I mean, I think that that's part of their job. I mean, we can all sit here and say, yeah, let's do 15% or 20%, but until you get that 15%, you know what that number is what I'm concerned about.
I think Natalie ran the numbers at 10%, I believe. We could ask her to run them again at 15 and 20, so we'd have the various options.
I mean, yeah, we know what the 10% is gonna cost us, and kind of know what it's gonna cost them, but we don't know what the 10% is 20. I would hate to say 20, when it puts these people, our employees, in the hole on their checks. I
Yeah.
mean, some of these people are living paycheck to paycheck, and that's, I guess, not our responsibility, but I don't wanna put that person in a position that makes their life even worse. If we can come up with some numbers so that we know, what the increase is gonna be. I said, we know what the 10% is, we know that. But we don't know what a 15% or 20% is. And I don't wanna say one or the other and hold my feet to the fire.
I understand that. I'll ask her if she can, she set up a spreadsheet for that, so hopefully it wouldn't be much work for her
It shouldn't take
to.
much, but
Yeah.
I think we need to know dollar amounts. So.
Madam Chair, if I may? We can squeeze that balloon and play the math game all we want, but ultimately it's going to end up being who signs up for what. So if we took it at 20%, there's a possibility that you'd have a lot of people or some people that say, well, it's going to be cheaper for me to go on my spouse's plan. So therefore, if they go on the spouse's plan, then it's going to be even less expensive to the county. So there's a moving target here to where if we say, here's what this number's going to be, that doesn't necessarily guarantee the same amount of people are going to sign up for the same plan. So we can throw numbers out there and Natalie can come up with what that's going to be, but ultimately it comes down to what do the employees sign up for? And that's really kind of the hard target to figure out. So, and as far as the insurance committee making recommendation, as I said before, I think we went through the process to figure out what insurance the employees wanted, but I was not going to take that obligation on to say, and here's what I'm going to obligate the county to pay. That's what I thought this whole budget process would be. Maybe I did that incorrectly, but I can tell you right now, if you really wanted a recommendation from the insurance committee, I'm back to, we just passed a whole increase onto the employees because the county does not have the money. I don't know how many different ways I can say that. I understand the employee's situation and I understand paycheck to paycheck, but we can't, the money's just not there. And for us to continue to spend more money on that we don't have just is crazy to me. But we can do the exercise and figure out what the math would be at 20% or what have you, but ultimately it still ends up whatever money we continue to take out of the general fund to pay for these benefits is somebody's job. If we have to pay an extra $80,000 towards benefits, that means that's potentially two people that are going to get laid off at $40,000 a year. That's how this is going to work. Unless I am completely misunderstanding this. But the more we continue to pay towards raises and benefits are the more jobs that are going to be lost because there's just not enough money to go around. Thank you.
Currently, the county pays 80% of the health insurance on an employee. 80-20, yep. That's too wide to spread.
I'll reach out to Natalie tomorrow and see what she can run for us and try to have that in advance so people can see it and think about it before Monday night.
I got a question for Jim.
Okay.
Our, as a director, is his salary partially paid by the state or is that all out of our general fund?
That is all, if we were getting reimbursed by the state, half his salary would be reimbursed by the state. But
But that right now is
that
all
that
ours
is a do not pay item, you know, or no pay list, whatever you want to call it.
Where does that reimbursement come from at the state?
Illinois Emergency Management Association, or agency, excuse me, Illinois Emergency Management Agency. But we have not received it for several years, so it's no longer a budget line item.
You know, I mean, John's always done a good job on that end of it. I just don't know where we can, if there's something we can do on that end of it to help save a little money here or there. I don't know. It's bad that we're not getting reimbursement because of our financial woes of these audits.
Half, yeah, basically. Yeah. It's not a huge amount.
Are there any other salaries we're not getting reimbursement on?
No, I mean, we still get the state's attorneys, we still get supervisor assessments, we still get the public defender, obviously we still get probation. And we still get the John Hay contract because they are for patrolling that area.
I wonder what it is about this one that we don't, that
Well,
it doesn't come through.
I think they treat it like a grant instead of just a flat reimbursement, but you'd have to ask Josh what kind of paperwork he has to submit each year.
I'm sure I need to ask this of Walker, but does his office do any work with the prison here?
What do you mean, work with the prison?
Any, yeah, the work camp. Thank you, Andy. Any legal issues around inmates, or there wouldn't be any interaction? The reason I'm asking, I read where you can get partial reimbursement for an assistant state's attorney if you have a correctional facility, a university, and there was one more I'm forgetting right now, but the only one I thought was the work camp that applied to us.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of any, but I just thought maybe you guys might know something.
I mean, are you talking to them to represent an inmate? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
I think she means if an inmate offends out there, where are they prosecuted?
If something is
Yeah.
out there, then it will be done in Pike County. Yes. That part.
So theoretically, granted, those we don't get real dangerous people, but theoretically, we would handle.
We would handle a court case if there was a court case brought, yes.
Okay.
If charges were brought.
If charges were brought.
Okay.
Maybe it's worth following up with Walker then to see.
That's worth an email or phone call.
But the thing is, the only thing I can see on that part of it, with being Jacksonville being the parent institution, it's still, the court case would be here if it occurred here. That's a good thing, but, just the facility being in Jacksonville being the parent, so that might be a hitch that I don't know about.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
may I ask a question?
sure.
What is code hearing? I know it's not a lot of money, but it's $13,100. Are we required by statute? Is it just a service that we're offering? If we get rid of it, does it cost us something someplace else?
Basically, code hearing is done for cities that want to do nuisance ordinances without taking them to court. The villages or city has to pay a certain amount for each court case, basically. But it doesn't go to court itself. It doesn't, you know. it's all-
Reduces.
So are the cities,
In the court.
Yeah.
so are the cities reimbursing us or paying us for the benefit of that service, or is
There's
this?
so much per case.
Yeah,
And I don't remember.
It
the
used to
number.
be, $25 per ticket. I wanted to raise it to 45, and I don't know, I think it's at 35 now.
So-
They also would do any animal control violations, any tickets that they write out there would go through that.
So,
Villages have an opportunity to use that.
so
I know the city of Pittsville uses it quite a bit. Grigsville was using it. I think they're still going to be using it, trying to use it. Same way with Perry. And Barry was, I don't know if they still are or not.
does anyone know what revenue line is that would be showing? I'm just trying to offset costs. If it's paying for itself, then so be it, but, so that's, I guess, where I was going. It sounds like if we are getting reimbursed something for that service, then I need to kind of attribute that to the correct revenue line, so we can make
Yeah,
sense out of it.
Judge Roseberry came and presented to us last budget cycle about where the revenue, how much it was and where it was going. But I just a handout, I don't think I can dig up an email on it.
Okay.
What, one thing I want to find out a little more about, the clerk that Judge Roseberry uses gets paid, what do you got on there, $150 a month?
I think it's 300.
But the clerk that he's using is the one from the county clerk's office, and she does not go off the clock there, but picks up an extra amount over here, and for the same hours, so it's double dipping.
I don't remember if it was double dipping or if that was done as a stipend. I can't remember.
Either way, eliminate the friggin' stipends.
Yeah, I think it was set. I call it a stipend, but I might be wrong on that. Don't hold me to that.
Don, I don't know if that's much different than the employees getting, it looked like, and I could be wrong, and I'll let the county clerk answer, but on election days where county employees are also getting paid as election judges or supervisors or something along those lines. So, and at least, I think most of the time election days are a holiday. So they're collecting holiday pay plus,
Plus the stipend for being election official.
well, yeah, they're actually there to work. I mean, I don't, because they've got to run that. So they're getting double pay, if not triple pay, depending on if they're following the FOP contract. Plus they're getting paid as election judges or supervisors or something along those lines. So
Does some of that get reimbursed
from the state,
from the state?
I'm hoping to get more detailed information out of that, similar to what the sheriff provided. You know, how much is being reimbursed for rent? How much is being reimbursed for judges? How much is being reimbursed? And right now, it's just one big lump sum. And so, as I'm diving into this, I'm trying to break it out as much as I can on my own. I will admit I have not asked the county clerk, so she has not done anything wrong about not getting back to me. I'm just trying to do as much deep dive as I can on my own first before I bother her with any of my questions. So, but I don't have an answer on that, Tom. I don't know how much the,
I thought some of it was reimbursed, but where it goes back into would be a big question too.
right.
But I'm pretty sure that it does.
Any other comments or issues, questions from board members?
Derek, where were you accounting? I mean, I know it's like the 55,000 from Bryce is accounted above his budget. Where is it accounted for in the appropriations ordinance? I mean, I guess the same question would go for Natalie's. I mean, like I say, I had them as it transfers in for this year's budget, but I didn't know what.
It was 86.
Well, it was 86, yes, I know, but
And the
I
other
was,
25 that he kicked in, that he didn't kick in, that he paid out too.
So I am hoping to add those actual lines into CIC so they will be easier to track, because transfer in seem to be a lot more ambiguous compared to it just, it's difficult when you get the reports and you just see transfer in, it doesn't really tell you where it came from. So I'm trying to actually earmark, so if you look at Bryce's budget, I have in there public defender grant, or, well, that's a court system. So I did the same thing with the judge. So I have public defender grant, court technology grant, access to justice grant, and those are all grants, but at least it's a revenue, then you can apply it to the expenditures down below. So when you get into Bryce's, instead of being transfer in, I've actually got them earmarked as where he's pulling them from. And then when you go down to those special funds, then I'm showing this as administrative to the general fund budget. So between the two, you should be able to follow the chain to say, okay, I know that this is where it came from, or if you're in the special fund, you can say, I know where this is going to, but I'm not putting it in the regular revenue, that $5 million revenue. Is that what you're asking? Kind of?
yeah, it's revenue, but we're not counting it as revenue?
Well, we're not counting it as,
Or, I mean, it's offsetting expenses, but I didn't know where it was put in.
okay. Let me think through that a little more, and I'll get back to you on an answer on that.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to, even on his office, I'm trying to do a net. So when you look at that first page of the spreadsheet, I'm trying to get where, if we can count on special funds to help offset his office, then as an example, his total expenses may be 300,000, but if he's giving us 50,000 of that, then his net expense is only 250.
Yeah.
So, which I know we can all do the math, but I'm not trying to put that 50,000 as a general fund revenue. I'm trying to put it specifically to his office because that really isn't general fund money. It's only going to be used against what his expenses are. So it's being figured in on what the net cost is to him or to the general fund, the overall budget. So I guess it's kind of being considered revenue, but I'm not counting it as general fund revenue.
Anything else from board members? I did have one more thing I wanted to discuss. If you think of other issues, we can come back to that. But I just wanted to mention tomorrow night's truth and taxation hearing. It'll be here at 6 o'clock. Hopefully, we can get the streaming going without any glitches. I have tried to read everything I can find about truth and taxation hearings, and I found a lot about when you have to have them, how you calculate whether you need to have them or not, how you get to that point. There's also an awful lot about what you post in the paper and how the notice has to look, even down to the font and the size of the ad. But I don't find a lot about how the hearing has to be conducted or anything, anything special, other than any other hearing we would have. So, if anyone's aware of anything, let me know. Otherwise, I did just want to ask, and put this forward. I, assume that we'll, have the invocation and pledge at the beginning, can do a roll call of board members. I'll welcome folks if we have anybody in attendance, and just say a few things about why we're here and how we got to this point. I think I should keep that as short as possible because we want the bulk of the time for people to make their comments and ask their questions. But I wondered if any of you wanted to say anything you don't have to decide tonight, but if anyone wants to speak or make some opening remarks, I don't want to cut anybody else off. And you can tell me now, or if you want to let me know before the hearing starts, I'd be happy to call on you as we're getting started. Otherwise, I did say in the notice that we would limit folks to 5 minutes, which has been our practice here. I think a person can get a lot in 5 minutes, and so I'm planning to have somewhere that folks can sign in if they want to speak, and then I can just call off their names as they've signed in. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Any different ideas? Or does everyone plan on being here tomorrow night? Andy? Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, anything else from board members before I ask for public comment?
The only thing I've been questioned about quite a bit is the wording on the notice that went out. People are confused about the 9% increase that it states, and I don't think most people aren't clear on how that only applies to the county's portion of the overall tax bill.
Oh,
So, just,
make that clear.
yeah, make that, I don't know what statement to make, it's only the county's levy, it's not the overall tax bill, so.
That it's 9.6% of the 16 to 17% of your tax bill. Well, it varies by tax district.
Oh, yeah.
Mine was,
Mine happens to be 18.
yeah, mine was 17 on one and 16 on another.
Right, yeah, I know, what tax system mine happens.
Okay, thanks, Lance. We can, yeah. I did take as much as possible that language in the statement you're talking about is right out of the statute.
And they will not let you deviate from that language for that publication. That's right in the statute.
But that's a good point. Okay. Anything else? Anyone here attending tonight that would like to speak? Please. And if you wouldn't mind, if you would come up to the mic, then people on the streaming could hear if they want to.
Absolutely. How are you tonight? Thank you for having me. I'm Deborah Hashman. Good evening. My name is Deborah Hashman. My husband and I were incentivized to relocate to Pike County to support local growth and development. I'm here tonight because I've uncovered what directly impacts the integrity of this 2026 budget preparation meeting. Here are the facts. FOIA requests for the county records have been repeatedly delayed and obstructed by Natalie Roseberry and the state's attorney Walker Filbert, who continue to withhold documents and issue unjustified extensions. Several fiscal years remain unaudited, despite hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars budgeted for audited services. The county budget shows clear irregularities, including a 300% increase in audit fees and a 6,000% spike in contingency funds. Natalie Rosenberry receives an added stipend as risk management in the IRMF fund, but that has ballooned more than 300%. I've personally identified misappropriation of county funds used by the state's attorney for private parties at local restaurants operating without valid business licenses, liquor, or health licenses. Pike County has currently no licensed LEHP health inspector. Meeting minutes for recent meetings go unpublished. 10 days from when the meeting minutes are approved to post those meeting minutes for the public. Truth in taxation notice was not properly published or formatted, rendering the upcoming tax levy non-compliant under Illinois law. That formatting is incorrect. You can't add or amend the words added to that notice. If a levy were to be passed, it would be invalid. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to meet with State Representative C.D. Davidsmeyer to request state oversight and the creation of an independent review committee. I will also file formal complaints with the Illinois Attorney General's Public Access Counselor, the Attorney General's Public Integrity Bureau, the Illinois Ethics and Integrity Commission, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I am respectfully asking this board to pause all budget and levy actions until the missing audits are completed and made public. Proceedings now would violate the public trust and this board's fiduciary responsibility. This is your fiduciary responsibility to protect the taxpayers' money. I am fully willing to volunteer my time and expertise to help restore lawful compliance and public confidence. This community deserves honesty, safety, and accountability, and I intend to make sure that we get it. And I appreciate your time and for hearing me out. Thank you.
Okay,
I apologize. That was all emails to each one of these board members and the state's attorney prior to. Thank you.
was that just today that it was emailed?
Yes, ma'am. But I've copied you all on the FOIA requests, so you can get aware that I've been going on trying to find out the answers to these questions in the audit reports that should be easily accessible within your government payroll system.
The inspector, with regard to the health department, the acronym you're using, what does that stand for?
Licensed environmental health professional.
Thank you. Okay, any others? All right, not seeing any. Have a motion to adjourn? Lance? Joey seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed, nay? Then we'll stand adjourned at 7:49.
From where? The number of employees you pay.
Yeah, I have to get an average salary, but yeah. And then it's a matter, I mean, like Scott's office, you know, you can't tell anybody there, so it's kind of looking forward to that. Start out, figure it out.
Place to stay for a while.
And you don't have to count the
Days off
office,
work.
there you go. Take an average salary, is what's it, how many employees?
Yeah. I know. Okay, I'll clean the desk.